What's going on, beautiful people? It's your boy C-Dub, aka Whit, presenting you the Majestic Cycling Victorville Category 4 Criterium. And we are off. So right now you see I am holding an inside line and we have just started. And I have right there in front of me Rocket Rocha. And we're coming up to the first turn of the course. Right now I'm behind an H&S guy in the black kit. And we're making our way. Hey guys, thanks for clicking this vid. I'm super excited that you guys were able to come along this journey, and we are in for a 42-minute and 53-second video. So please sit back, relax, get your cold beverage, get your cinnamon roll, your donut, and let's get it in. So right now you see I'm sitting on this guy with the purple jersey, and yeah, something's about to happen as we are making our turn 3. Something's about to happen. And yeah, check it out. Right there. We rubbed tires and I almost went down, but thank God I kept it. So now I'm seeking, you see I'm out here far to the left and I'm looking to jump back in. So I jump back in before we get to the turn. And this section right here is roughly anywhere from 15 to 20 mile an hour headwinds in this section right here. So there's two sections that really had strong headwinds, and you see that the miles per hour is really low. It's only 19 because it's a slight incline, as well as we're going into a headwind. So we just made another turn, and I'm trying to get away from the guy in the purple jersey, 371, but I just could not get away from him because we just fell into place that way. So I tried to be very watchful of him, and you even see now I'm getting close and I kind of pulled out to the left just to get away from his rear tire again because of what happened earlier. So now we just made our turn number 5, and this portion is downhill, as well as we have a tailwind here, and there's Irvin of Breakaway Cycling there to my 11 o'clock with the orange or red, gray, black, and yellow kit. They are racing out of Las Vegas, Nevada. And so right now, you see, look in the rear view camera, there's only a few bodies behind me. So I'm kind of a little bit in the back due to the tire rub that happened earlier right after turn number 3. And so now we're going through turn 6. And this has a small little incline here as we go to the start finish. And this portion right here, it is crosswinds from the left to the right, from the right to the left. So we have crosswinds right here, and I realized that being on the inside in this section was not doing good, especially when it came to drafting. And so as I'm learning more and more and more about drafting, you know, we have to be very mindful of where the wind is blowing from, you know, and you have to pretty much get behind or next to that body to protect you from the wind. And as being a big body myself, as much drafting helps me a little bit. So right now I'm on Jack's wheel, rocking the Cognition Beaches or Bicycles kit. I'm not sure what it says, racing kit, yeah, Cognition Racing. So just was on his wheel right here, and he worked very, very hard as my teammate Mark Rocket Rocha worked. So right now you can see in my rear view camera that you got Rocket Rocha just to the right of the camera next to Irvin behind me as we go through turn number 3. And I'm just sitting here on Zach's wheel, and we're making our way. You know, again, this is a headwind, so everybody's hunkered down a little bit, going 24 miles an hour. I have 175 beats per minute, and yeah, it hurts. This section right here actually hurt a lot. I'm pushing over 300 watts in this section, down to 200 watts, but watts were pretty much up in this section simply because of a headwind. If you look at the H&S guy right there about 1 o'clock, you see he's really hunkered down trying to stay out of the wind, and it was really, really hard. So we're about 4 minutes in. This is a long one, so please just hang in here with me. This section right here is a little downwind, so it helps out when it comes to trying to recover, because once we make turn number 5, that section additionally is downhill, but we have a tailwind. And some of these corners were not the cleanest of corners due to previous rain. And actually there was a snowstorm that had just hit a couple of nights before when we actually were coming up. Please check out the road trip video. You'll see we kind of went through a little bit of that road storm, myself and Mark Rocket Rocha, as we went through the Crestline Mountains, which was not something that we were looking forward to doing. And then the day prior to this, which was Saturday of this race, they had the road race, which had very strong headwinds as well, and the temperatures during these races were a bit chilly. So now you see I have Rocket Roach right in front of me, so I'm jumping on his wheel and trying to keep my eyes on the front of the pack, seeing what's going on. And again, I just let my momentum bring me up to the H&S guy. And there's a few different H&S people, teammates in this race. You see one in my rear camera, you see one in front of me, and you see their kits are the same. But then there's a couple other, I think, that have their more colorful kits that some people actually did not know that they were H&S. And, you know, just from getting around and just staying observant, you start to identify who's who in the zoo and what birds of feathers flock together. And so I realized that the guy that's up front right now, he's also H&S. Actually, just up in front of the guy with the black kit, the guy right in front of him with the more colorful kit, he's also H&S. But if you didn't know, you wouldn't know. So right now I got Rocket Rocha and Irvin in the rear view camera, and we're pushing 23 miles an hour, going a little slightly downhill with 170 beats per minute. And the reason why I'm not on the wheel right now is because there's a couple of sections on this road that have been patched, and I didn't want to have to deal with that. So I just kind of took a more of an outside line, I guess you could say, or inside line, due to the fact of turning left at turn 3. So you saw I went underneath, and right now I'm next to the guy in the purple jersey again. And you see Irvin, he's off the front. And so I know that Irvin is a very strong rider. And I was like, you know, we got a guy up front, we got a guy up front. And they were like, oh, let him go, we'll bring him back. And due to these headwinds, it was very hard for people to stay away. And then we had this big guy up on front in the blue kit, and he was taking some weird lines. And then, so this guy right here, whose wheel I'm jumping on, he was like, oh, he's not going anywhere. We're going to pull him back. And so as you see, I have Rocket Rocha on my wheel, as well as that H&S guy that's now tucking behind Rocket Rocha. So I'm sitting here on this guy's wheel, and we're just riding. Again, going 23 miles an hour, 174 beats per minute. And, you know, just going through the motions and just trying to stay. And one thing I've realized I really have to do better at, and I don't know what I'm going to have to do to get there. If you have any suggestions, I ask that you would put them down in the descriptions below. But I have to learn to really stay glued to wheels. So if you see these two guys that just passed me, those are teammates. Two different kits, but they're teammates. And it was pretty interesting seeing how some people reacted when either one of them or either one of those kits went up the road. Others would allow the other guys to block, not realizing. So, but I know I have to work on staying on wheels. That is something that I really have to tighten that down, because people are getting away from me and I'm not too much liking it. And I know if I could stay on these guys' wheel, then I could probably place a lot better and do a lot more damage. So right now you see I'm on these two H&S guys' wheels, and so you see the difference of kits right here. This is perfect. So one's kind of a multicolored floral look, and then the other one here, just to my 2 o'clock, it's pretty much just black, white, and gray, you know, with just the letters H&S. So these guys are teammates right here. And so you can see how it could easily be disguised that they're not on the same team, but they are. So you got Zach behind me. You got a few guys behind me. So right now he gave me a yut in the rear view camera. So what's going on, Zach? Hopefully you'll watch this commentary and hear your shout out. But I got Zach just right behind me. You got Mark Rocket Rocha back there as well. And it's just me and him in this Cat 4 race. And so a lot of people went to Valley of the Suns in Arizona this weekend, and I found out that it was very cold over there as well. So you see, there's another. I have a guy to my right coming up, which is this guy's teammate right here. So you can't see him right now as he's to my right, but so you just see the guy from H&S. He pulls off, and then his teammates, you know, kind of right behind me. You got Zach on my wheel, and again, just holding this wheel right here, moved up, put out about 350 watts, I think, to get up on his wheel. And he was a pretty strong rider, keeping it consistent as we're coming up to turn number 4. And again, this headwind section was horrible. We're going 18 miles an hour for a Criterium. That's pretty slow, but that headwind, and it was a slight uphill, was no joke. So he pulls off, and I find myself up to the front again. And I got to work on that as well, because it is not my job to be pulling. So I pull over to the left. And if you look at the rear view camera, you see all the riders behind, and you see Rocket Rocha pulls through with Zach on his wheel. And so I jump back on Zach's wheel, because I know that, you know, Rocket is one that can really put down some watts and get this thing moving. And so I just had to try to stay connected. Additionally, you see we're passing people here on our right. And because of the small fields with the women and the men's, they put the Cat 4 men and women together. So you'll see here we're passing some women, and yeah, so they're in the race as well, but they're doing their own race, but they're infused into the main race. So right now you see Irvin came underneath, and then you have another H&S guy. I want to say his name is Zach, but I'm not sure. But we're going to keep it moving. So right now, just jumping on his wheel. And again, this is slightly uphill, so I'm pushing over 350 watts, going 27 miles an hour. Heart rate is at 180, and, you know, we're just going up. And then we have, I want to say that's Mike behind me. He's giving the yut as well in the rearview camera. He told me after the race, he's like, bro, if your I think his name is Mike Starr. He said, bro, if your camera was on, check it out. So yeah, I just saw you, Mike. Thanks for that shout out. Thanks for that that goodness that you just threw up in that rearview camera. So we got Rocket Rocha. He was just pulling. He pulled hard out to the left, and now he's looking to jump back in behind Zach. And again, I pull up and I jump on my teammate's wheel as we go into turn number 2. So now we're going back down. So now the crosswinds are blowing from our left to our right. And again, I'm learning how to be mindful of where the wind is blowing. And I encourage you guys, if you don't know where the wind is blowing, to look at the trees and see which way they're leaning, and or look at flags or any type of pennants that may be there. If there's trash, see where it's going. If it's going to your left, that means that the wind is blowing from the right to the left. And so right now I'm just sitting off of Rocket Rocha's wheel. I probably should have been right behind him due to the fact that we are in a headwind right now, but it was getting tight. So you see you got an H&S guy to my right. We got Mike behind me trying to get some water, and we're just pushing along. Again, 18 miles an hour, 17 miles an hour in this section right here because of this strong headwind, and it was not fun. So we're about 12 minutes in, and again, this video is 42 minutes long. So I jump on Rocket Rocha's wheel. He jumps out, so I jump on his wheel as we go through turn number 4. And everybody's looking around, seeing what's going to happen, what's going to do. Rocket Rocha's telling the guy up front, up there, that he can take, wider turns, because he was taking every single turn really sharp. So if you see where he's at right now, that's kind of where he was riding. And then he would make his turn versus going outside, inside, outside. He was staying inside. Like, watch his turn. See? So he would go inside, make his turn inside, and then go right back to the inside. And so Rocket Rocha was explaining to him, like, bro, bring it outside, cut your turn, go outside, inside, outside. That's okay. But, he was just working. He was up front working and wasn't flicking their elbow or anything. So, of course, everybody's trying to eat off somebody's plate. So as you see, I'm sitting on Rocket Rocha's wheel. Then I got Zach on my wheel as we're going down this section right here, going 26 miles an hour. People are recovering, and it's to make for a great race. Also, I'll say right now, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, I ask that you would go ahead and click that subscribe button. If you do not have a YouTube account, I ask that you would pause the video right here, and I ask that you would go set up this free account, come back, and subscribe to the Whit Roadrunner family. I'm looking forward to having you on board, because there are many, many, many more videos to come. And so right now we're about to go through the start and finish, and yeah, this race was very interesting because the headwind, the wind. So now you see I'm sitting to Mark's left. And the reason why I'm here now, because I'm starting to really be mindful of this wind and trying to really stay out of the wind. And so as I was coming through that section, I got to Mark's left because the wind was blowing from the right to the left. Now as we make this right-hand turn, in turn one, as we get ready to go through turn number 2, it's a headwind. So not only was I on the left before that, but once we made this right-hand turn, I tried to get directly behind Mark so that he would be taking, or the draft would be created. Now you see I'm trying to ride to his right, but as everybody's moving, they keep moving back in front of me. So now I'm just drafting from, from directly behind him, but yet the wind is blowing from left to right now. So with this semi-technical course, it was really hard staying out of the wind, and especially being probably the biggest guy in this field. There was only, I want to say 14 riders, not including the women, but 14 men, Cat 4 riders that did this race. It was very difficult to stay out of the wind. As you see now, I should probably be on the back of his wheel. And again, something that I'm learning that I really need to do better at drafting, so that I can have more energy conserved for the ends of the race, because I'm struggling closing the gaps, staying on wheels. And so I don't know why I don't know why I did this. I just felt like, because Rocket Rocha had just got on the guy about hugging the inside like he's doing. So I said, I'm going to just make my own line. And we were going so slow, it was just like, why not? But I did it, and maybe I should have just stayed where I was. But now I'm behind Zach with Mike to my right, and you see Mike's wrecking an H&S kit, so that means he's on FLX Racing as well. So a lot of the FLX Racing guys showed up in this race, and so we just had to be watchful of them. There's a guy, again, on the rear view camera. He's with the orange helmet. He's a teammate as well. And so you see there, we're kind of split behind me. There's not a lot going on. Everybody's all over the place behind me. Everybody's all over the place in front of me. Somebody punches up the road, and they go after it. So right now I'm just trying to tuck in. This is a downhill portion as we're coming up on turn 6. It's a downhill portion, so I'm just trying to jump on a wheel and make it happen. So the guy goes up a little bit. Zach jumps on his wheel, and since there was a gap created, I just jump on Zach's wheel before we come into turn number 6. So right now we're going through turn number 6, and we're looking to go to the start finish. And one thing that I've learned about the different cats is that every category, the people in that category have a different determination to work. Meaning, as you go into other cats, the people are more willing to work, or if you're in a lesser cat, less people are willing to work. And I've noticed that from watching some previous videos, some personal videos, looking at some YouTube videos, and even watching some of my teammates' videos, and just how people respond in the race. So right now you see I'm on the wheel of an H&S guy, or FLX Racing Team guy. I call them H&S because I believe that's what their kits say, their black kits. So you see these two kits look the same, but all three of these guys up in front of me are teammates. All three of them teammates, and there's more in this race. So right now I see that they're going, and of course I'm going 25 miles an hour, 180 beats per minute, pushing out over 700 watts, almost 800 watts here, trying to jump back on the wheel. So now, because of this headwind, everything starts to slow down. But of course we're going just a little bit faster because of the surge that just happened. But yet you see how it slowed down, and I'm not even pushing half the watts I was pushing momentarily, or a minute ago. And so now back on the wheel, and you see these guys are teammates. So I'm being very mindful of this, of what they're doing, because if there's no response to this, then these two guys can get away, catch the guys up the road, and then you got two guys in a breakaway on the same team. Now you don't want that. Now you may have one guy of each team in the breakaway, that's fine, hoping that your teammate is in the breakaway. But when you have two guys on the same team in the breakaway, you don't want that, because that really puts the odds in their favor. So right now, again, there's one of the ladies on the left. We're going through the turn number 5. And so people are looking for wheels to jump on. And so you got these two teammates still working. So they're just working together. Come up on another guy, I think, who tried to break away, and he's falling back in, which was Mark. So Rocket Rocha had went up the road using some of his matches to see if anything happens, and they catch him. So he jumps back in third wheel. I jump on his wheel, and I got the guy in the all black kit with the white helmet on my wheel that I mentioned earlier. Is very, very strong, and we're just making our way. So currently we're about halfway. We're about 19 minutes 50 seconds into the vid, and just over we're almost halfway there. So Rocket Rocha, he closes the gap down back with them, and I see, okay, well, if I got a teammate up there, I'm not going to work hard to bring that back. So I'm going to just cruise, going 25 miles an hour. I'm going to let somebody else work to pull that back because I have a teammate right there. And if this thing goes, at least I know I have a teammate there that can possibly, you know, work with these guys. And I think that he could probably out-sprint both of those guys. So Zach goes up, which to add to make it a little different. But then again, there's Rocket Rocha pulling far out left so that nobody jumps on his wheel. Rather than just kind of sticking in there and getting a rotation going, he pulls out so that nobody jumps on his wheel, so that they will pull up and then allowing him to jump back in the back of the peloton. So here he goes out really wide left, looking where to slot back in again. And again, the guy with the black full kit on with the white helmet, he motors up, and then Rocket comes back in and jumps back on his wheel as we're moving up. So you see there about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock now, the H&S guy, he's dropping back, and we're pushing up. So I'm just holding onto Rocket Rocha's wheel. I'm not sure who's on my wheel, but I know Irvin is back there, and they're coming up. So here we got a surge coming up on the left-hand side as we go up to turn number 4. So the guy that was first wheel is from like Velo, I can't remember the name of the team, but he was marked to be or predicted to be first in the road race. So he was somebody that we were actually watching for, but he kind of sat in the back the whole time, and then he attacked. And he attacked, and he went up the road, and you see the pace of the tempo of this race is up a little bit because of that attack. And so again, I'm just sitting in on Zach's wheel, hoping that the peloton can pull him back. Now, I believe there was another person that went with that break or that attempt, and I'm not. I believe they stayed away. I'm not sure if if the guy that went with the guy that was slotted to get first in the road race, if they came back or somebody else went up, but I'm not sure. I do know that we did have a breakaway in this race. So right now, Zach is off the front of the group, and he's hammering. And of course, there's a little bit of a gap between me and him, which I do not like, but I'm going to work on that. And then there's a little gap on my rear wheel if you look at my rear camera. So I'm sitting right behind Zach, but the gap is too big, so I'm really not drafting him. I'm working just as hard. So my watts, as we close through that corner, my watts are up close to 400 watts. My heartbeat's at 180, going 25 miles an hour. You know, and I got a guy sitting on my wheel trying to recover himself, and here comes the group. I believe that's Justin Minner. And then you got Rocket Rocha on his wheel, and some of the people that I mentioned prior, they're going up. So you see a whole lot of H&S or FLX cycling guys moving up. And right now, I'm kind of hurting. I'm out in the wind, and I'm like, okay, I need to get tucked back in. So I jump on this wheel as it comes around me. And if you look in the rearview camera, I'm last because what's behind me is the actual the USA cycling official. So he's policing the peloton. And so I'm like, okay, all right, I'm in the back right now, and we still got a little bit of ways to go. So we're at 23 minutes in the race, and I'm like, okay, I gotta get off this back. This is not where I need to be. And so as you saw, the big guy just went through one of those little pothole kind of road work areas, and I didn't want to ride in that. And so I rode this course on the day prior just because of training. So I went kind of just did some turns and just we're doing a reconnaissance of this course to see what it was all about. And just from coming out here and doing a reconnaissance, I think I did pretty good identifying some lines and seeing what was in each corner and seeing what was in some of the straights. And again, identifying that we had some slight roller sections and seeing that there was some downhill sections that really was beneficial when I shared that information with my fellow teammates. So it was really nice being able to come on out and do a reconnaissance the day prior to the race. Excuse me. So right now, tucked back in, and this guy right here that I'm on, he was the guy that was kind of taking the weird lines up at front. And so I figured right now I got Irvin right there at 1 o'clock, and then I got this big guy here in front of me. I said, this is a good place I can be. I can hide from some wind. I got two big bodies right here. No disrespect, but excuse me. But I have people here around me that can possibly block more wind for me, which is a needed thing in this type of endurance sport. The wind, in a sense, is not your friend unless it's pushing you from the back. But we had a lot of sections that were dealing with the headwind or crosswinds, and that made for a very hard race. So right now we're just going through the start finish again, and again you see I'm holding to the left. And the reason again why I'm holding to the left, because the wind is blowing from the right to the left. I'm trying to get in a position to which will allow me to do the best drafting, so that I have to fight less wind resistance. So this is why I didn't take the inside here. This is why I kind of moved to the outside line, so that when they would be there, I could get some block, I could get some draft. So I try to choose better lines. So right now you see I'm in between, I believe that's Justin and then big guy. So just being mindful of where I'm at. And again, the tempo was not very high in this race because the wind was so hard. I mean, it was just ridiculous how hard this wind was blowing. And it was so hard to where when I got done with the race, my eyeballs were hurting. You know, it felt like I hadn't had any water. I went to sleep. My body was fully dehydrated. I woke up and had to like peel my eyes open. That's how bad my eyes hurt after this race was over from the headwinds and, you know, for how cold it was. I mean, you see everybody here most of the people here got on knee warmers, leg warmers, you know, arms are fully covered. They got on gloves. Some even got on, you know, probably a face mask or balaclava, something to cover their necks. It was a little chilly, you know, just a little chilly. But what don't kill us, what y'all, only makes us better. And this race, as well as the 3-4 race, which will be done shortly hereafter, I learned some personal things from them, and even by getting information from good friends, I'm learning to hone my racing style. And I think that is vitally important. You know, we can watch film all day, you can ride your bike all day, but you have to learn your fighting style. You know, are you an archer or are you, a swordsman? You have to know what's your talent and your capability, not just being a sprinter, but, are you a guy that can go with a breakaway? Are you a guy that can counter? Are you a guy that's just a straight sprinter? You need to know, and then, if you're bigger than everybody else in the race, it doesn't make any sense for you to be up front. So right now you see I'm kind of off the back a little bit, and the pace is picking up. These guys are going, the gaps are being created, and I kind of let it go. If you see there's a gap, there's Justin, I believe this is Justin Minner. So I know he was a strong rider, so I just jumped on his wheel, and I got Irvin behind me because I kind of had marked Irvin because I know that he's a strong rider, and I believe he got second at Roger Milliken while we were out there in Brea, California. And again, we're here at the Victorville Crit. This is their 4th annual. This is the part 2. They have a road race and they have a criterium. Road race is on Saturday, and the crit is on Sunday. So this is their 4th year doing it. So this program is growing, and I just pray that more people will take a liking to it and come on out and make this venue something beautiful for families, for friends, and for myself and fellow roadies. So right here we got Rocket Rocha. He's sitting in a good position. But again, our pack is small. So you see not too many people behind me, and at the same time, not too many people in front of me. So I was able to latch back on to this group. But there is a breakaway up the road, and I believe it was that break that went earlier that you saw when the guy attacked from the back. And that was probably, more than likely, it was textbook. You know, he had been sitting in the back, conserving all of his energy. And then when he felt the time was right, he took advantage of it by throwing an attack. And the attack, I believe, right now is away. So right now, everybody, I think, is kind of racing for third because there's two guys broken away. Nobody is really going up to the front to try to reel these two guys back in, let alone put themselves out there to chase that down, because as I mentioned before, every category has different work mentalities. You know, some cats, the dudes are willing to put themselves on the line and go into that dark place. Other cats are looking to eat off of everybody else's plate, and you gotta know, you gotta know what you're dealing with, and that's something that I'm learning. So there's a lot of different things in every category that you race in, that you ride in. You got to know the root of that cat, because otherwise you're going to be out there doing stuff that is really detrimental to you but beneficial to everybody else, because they're just going to eat off your plate because you're doing all the work. So right now, you see, we just went through turn number 6, coming through the start finish, and I jump on another, a FLX or H&S team's wheel, and we're just riding. We're going 23 miles an hour, 181 beats per minute, 1% grade incline here, and we're riding. So there's Zach, and guess where I'm at now? So look at me. I'm up front again. I got Justin on my wheel. I'm kind of up front, not on anybody's wheel, which again, I don't know if because the tempo was a little slow or why I found myself in so much wind. And I have to be very mindful of this, because it's not smart for me, being 9 times out of 10 the biggest guy in this race particularly. I need to be more mindful. If the pace slows down and I'm okay with that, then I should just stay tucked in while the pace is down. Let somebody that's probably 100 pounds lighter than me, and that's probably just a little bit more fitter than me, let them try to come up front and close something down, and then I just jump on their wheel, eat off their plate, and enjoy the journey. Because that's what I need to be doing. So right now you see that there's a little gap in front of me. Everybody's on my wheel behind me. You see Justin came underneath, and he's going, so he's got some momentum, so he's going out. And again, everybody's getting tired. I mean, look, it happens, but this wind and these small minor rollers really took it out of us, and the wind was not friendly at all. So you see, I just got swarmed. There's a few people behind me. We got Rocket Rocha back there, an H&S guy, and then there's another gentleman back there. I'm not 100% sure who he is, but this race was something else. This race was very it was a good race, but it was just very hard, especially having small numbers where you couldn't really get a good draft, because for the most part we was in a pace line, and also the wind. The wind hurt. It was cold. The wind, the small little false flats. It was just a compilation of several things that made this race harder than easier. But that's okay though, because whatever doesn't kill us, as I've said before, only makes us better. So I'm looking forward to getting better. And you see here, I'm off the back again. I got one guy on my wheel. Everybody's coming up. H&S guys are coming up, and I think I jump on their wheel and get towed on over, or not. So. But again, we're going uphill right here. We have a crosswind going from the right to the left. And what typically happens in this section as we come through the start and finish is that the tempo slows down. And so as you see here now, I'm latched back on. So I don't think much effort was actually applied to be latched back on, but yet these uphill sections that turns you right smack dab into a headwind, I think a lot of people kind of realized that and kind of drew back or held off, because they knew they were going to get smacked in the face with some 15 to 20 mile an hour winds, which made this race even more unique. So right now I'm on an H&S guy's wheel, and we're just motoring along. You know, we're currently at 34 minutes, and we have 42 total minutes of this video. So we have just over 8 minutes to go. So please hang in here with me, because you know I'm getting dry mouth just talking to y'all, and I'm getting sleepy just thinking about it. So I pray that you guys are still here. This is a long one, probably the longest commentary I've done, longer than Flow Host, longer than Donut Ride, longer than any other race, simply because the course was a longer course. You know, I think this course was like 1.1 miles, and the race was, for a Cat 4 race, the Cat 4 race is 40 minutes long. So, you know, and also I've learned too and noticed that the higher the Cat, the longer the race. So we have to be mindful. I didn't have any issues. I don't think my hands didn't hurt. I don't think my hands went numb at all. Sometimes I noticed where our hands will go numb because we're down in the drops in a very aggressive position for a lot of times. So like the guy just shook his hand out there. I don't think I did that. I can't remember. You know, it's been a week ago, and or close to a week ago, and I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think I did. And I'm riding the Union Sport Soleil, the Union Sport Moselle saddle. That's what I'm riding now. I'm also utilizing the SCC Tech bike, utilizing their product called SCC Slick, which is amazing on the chain. I'm riding Spinergy's FCC Pro Stealths, or PBO Stealths 4.7s. Loving those. Riding the 5000s, Continental GP 5000s, loving those. And actually, if you have any information about the RSs, let me know. What's your opinion about the Continental 4000 RSs versus the Continental GP 5000s? I have an opinion about it. I want to hear what yours is, and I will share that opinion with you in the comment section below. So please comment on that, and then I will share what I feel about it with you specifically upon your comment. So right here, you see that the pace is down to 23 miles an hour, 22 miles an hour. We're coming through the start and finish. And I got Rocket Rocha right there to my left, to my 11 o'clock. And again, we're riding close to the front. And I believe there's a young lady coming up in front of us. And so everybody's like middle. So we have to be mindful of her. I think this is her right here. Or maybe not. Yeah. This is one of the females that was riding. So we just had to, you know, everybody had to watch out, because of course they're all, you know, there was like three or four females. And so of course they're out there getting it in too. So right now, still close to the front. Again, I mean, there's only 14 of us here riding this course, and you know, and as you see, my rear camera is not there. I don't know what happened to that file. It disappeared on me. So maybe I accidentally deleted it, but we don't have any rear camera footage right now, which also lets me know that we're coming closer to the finish, because I realized that the last little segment of not having any rear camera footage was closer to the finish line. So we're getting close. We're at 38 minutes, and there's 42 minutes, 53 seconds in this video. So right now, just sitting inside, I'm still with the group, had been dropped, was off the back a few times, but due to the headwind in these uphill sections, I was able to reconnect. And again, to my left is a guy with the purple vest. Nothing against you, man, but I just know that when we tire rubbed, I almost went down. And I have to learn, when I'm around people that almost cause me to crash or whatever, I just have to be watchful, you know, because it happened. Also, this Sunday is CBR number 3, but it's actually CBR number 2. CBR number 2 is postponed because Dana Point is no longer. So that week of Dana Point will be CBR number 2. So right now we're kind of out of sync with the CBRs because the second one was postponed, but all is well. So right now, again, I'm kind of out here. I should have jumped on the wheel earlier, but I didn't. You know, we got Zach up there. Again, you see Zach is working. He's working hard. He's out. He's sprinting right there, trying to jump on that wheel that's up there as I sit here on Rocket Rocha's wheel. And this is my teammate. So I'm not sure what's going on behind me, but I would only assume that they're on my wheel as Mark is motoring us to the turn number 6. And you know, I'm just sitting here riding on his wheel, seeing what he's going to do. If he's going to go up there, whatever. If he's going to go up the road, then I'm going to block. I'm going to hold up. I'm going to block for him, because it's better to have him in the break than me. I think I know he has way better fitness than I do. He's been doing endurance sports for a lot longer than I've even imagined. And so I know that he had it. So right here you see he was looking back, and he was telling me that he didn't have it. He wasn't feeling it. And so as you see now, we got two guys up the road right here. You got me coming through the start and finish in the front. I'm pushing over 400 watts, going 23 miles an hour. Again, that headwind that we're about to come into, I was just getting mentally prepared for it. And again, as you see, I kind of moved to the left because of, again, being mindful of the wind. And as we make this full turn, I believe I slot back in or not. And this stuff happens so fast in these races to where it's really, really hard to kind of really keep up what's going on until you watch the video for yourself and see everything that's happening, because it's totally different from being in the race and watching the race. You know, now that I'm watching the race, my mind operates differently. I'm watching things and oh, I should have went with that. Oh, I should have went with this. But in the actual race, it's like, bruh, I'm tired. Like, I ain't trying to do that. I'm going to just sit right here and do what I'm doing. But anyway, so I see we got, I believe, Justin Minner in front of me with his BMC kit. And it was funny because before the race, he was like, man, I don't have no leg warmers. I'm just out here. But he did really good, really strong rider. I believe he also races Fixie. But yeah, and I think he also races for FLX or HNS. I'm not sure, man. Y'all came deep to this race, and I am not mad at y'all. I would have did the same thing if I had available bodies. I would have sent all my team out here if they were available. But you know, we work with what we have. So me and Rocket Rocha, we were here present, and the journey getting here was very, very interesting. So please go check out the Victorville journey, because that was interesting. So right now I believe we're coming up on the finish. So right here, I should have jumped on this wheel right here. I should have held it because we caught these little 3-man right here, and I didn't stay on that wheel. I should have stayed attached. So Justin comes out of the saddle to jump on that wheel, and I should have been right there. This is what frustrates me about me, is I should have been on that. You got Rocket Rocha right there. You got an HNS, I think that's Mike Starr coming through. And so I'm kind of just chilling right here. Like, I'm not even trying to jump on any wheels. I'm kind of confident that I'm in a good position. Again, there was only 14 of us. And come to find out that Irving had got a flat, so they brought it down to 13. So I'm in 10th position right now. I'm sprinting pretty much because I believe I see a guy out my left peripheral, and I didn't want him to pass me before the finish, so I did come across the line 10th. Took 10th place at Victorville Criterium Category 4 race. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe. On to the next one with your boy C-Dub, aka Crit Whit. Peace.